You know that one specific drawer in your house? Like the one you only open when you absolutely have to?
Oh, the universal junk drawer.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
You're looking for, I don't know, a simple AA battery, but instead you're immediately confronted by this tangled, chaotic nest of old phone chargers, mysterious rubber bands, maybe a key to a door you haven't lived behind in a decade.
It's completely overwhelming.
No.
And it makes no logical sense at all. Honestly, most of us just, shut it and hope the problem fixes itself somehow.
Totally. Now, I want you to imagine that instead of old electronics, that tangled, messy drawer is actually your brain trying to figure out how you feel right in the middle of a heated argument.
Oh, wow. That is a terrifying thought.
It really is. And that's what we are diving into today. We have a really fascinating set of materials for this deep dive. It's actually derived from an English language learning audio program.
Right.
Specifically, it's aimed at advanced learners, like people operating at a B2 to C1 level. But the thing is, this isn't a grammar lesson at all.
No, not at all.
The psychological insights embedded in this curriculum, they're incredibly profound for all of us, regardless of what our first language is.
Yeah, because the core mission of this deep dive and of the curriculum itself isn't about teaching someone how to speak with, like, flawless native level perfection.
Right.
It's entirely focused on how to express messy, complex feelings clearly and confidently. It makes this really vital distinction between, perfect communication and honest communication.
Okay, let's unpack this because the core problem identified right at the top of this material is so incredibly relatable.
Oh, 100%.
It's the issue of our basic vocabulary doing way, way too much heavy lifting. Like we default to these primary colors of emotion: sad, angry, tired.
Yeah, and tired is the classic offender here.
It really is.
I mean, when someone says, I'm tired, we usually just take it at face value. We assume they need sleep,
Yeah, I
right?
just think, oh, they had a long day.
Exactly. But psychologically, our brains use the word tired as like a catch-all folder to save energy.
Wow, really?
Yeah. When you are carrying stress, disappointment, confusion, silence, and, maybe the low-grade anxiety of having two unread text messages you really don't want to reply to,
Oh, I know that feeling so well.
right, your brain is under immense cognitive load.
Yeah.
Processing all of those individual emotions requires a lot of neurological bandwidth.
Right, it takes work.
So to conserve energy, the brain just lumps it all together and hands you the word tired.
That makes so much sense from a biological standpoint.
Yeah.
But honestly, it creates a disaster interpersonally.
Oh, completely.
It makes me think of like a check engine light on a car dashboard. It tells you that something is going wrong under the hood, but it completely fails to tell you if the transmission is blowing up or if you just, I don't know, didn't screw the gas cap on tight enough.
What's fascinating here is how that ambiguity inevitably leads to us being misunderstood.
Yes, exactly.
Because when we feel something deeply, but we verbalize it using these basic overworked words like your check engine light analogy,
Right.
it comes out either too simple or too sharp. The person you're talking to, they don't have access to your internal dashboard. So if you're actually feeling utterly overwhelmed by life, but you just sigh and say, I'm tired, to your partner,
They don't hear overwhelmed.
no, they don't. They read your tone and they might think you're being cold or dramatic or even just dismissive of them.
Which just compounds the problem, because now you're overwhelmed and you have to manage their reaction to you being cold.
Exactly.
This curriculum frames this so beautifully, I think. It suggests that when someone says, I don't know how I feel, it's rarely because they are empty inside. It's because their feelings are crowded, like they are feeling too many things at once, and it just becomes impossible to separate them.
Yeah, and this brings us right back to that junk drawer metaphor, or specifically what they call the emotional cable drawer in the text.
The emotional cable drawer, I love that.
It's so accurate. Trying to pinpoint a crowded emotion is exactly like opening a drawer and finding every single charging cable you have owned since, like, 2014 all knotted together. If you just reach in and grab a handful of cables, you aren't going to be able to plug anything in.
But wait, before we even try to explain ourselves, how does the source suggest we actually untangle that?
Ropes.
Because there's this movie villain effect we run into, right?
Oh, yes.
You say one quick, tangled sentence, you grab that handful of cables, and somehow everyone else in the room receives a completely different movie, and in their version, you are the villain.
Right. So you untangle it through a process they call articulating.
Articulating, okay.
Now, in this specific psychological context, to articulate doesn't mean speaking with, pristine grammar or having a massive vocabulary.
Like you don't need a thesaurus.
Exactly. It means gently slowing down your own internal processing. You have to physically and mentally pause to notice what is genuinely living underneath that primary emotion.
So it's kind of like internal detective work. You have to figure out the code before you transmit the message.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Let's say you feel like your opinions don't matter at work. Your immediate surface-level emotion is anger. But if you slow down and examine the cable, you might realize the anger is just a secondary emotion.
Right.
The deeper truth, like the root of the cable, is actually, I feel overlooked.
And if you're struggling to even find that root, there's a really gentle microscript suggested in the materials here.
Yeah, it's incredibly helpful.
You can just say to the other person, I'm not sure how to explain this, but I want to try.
It's so simple.
It is, and that immediately diffuses the tension. It signals to the other person that you aren't attacking them, you're just, navigating your own cable drawer in real time.
Exactly. It creates safety because you have to locate the real feeling before you can ever hope to share it safely.
Which logically brings us to the next massive hurdle in all of this.
Oh, yes. Getting the words out.
Right. Let's say you've done the work, you've looked in the drawer, you've untangled the cables, you've diagnosed the check engine light.
You're ready.
You know exactly what you are feeling. The next challenge is getting those feelings out of your mouth without accidentally starting World War III.
And this is where the biological reality of our brains really works against us.
Oh, really does.
Our very first emotional sentence usually arrives with, as the text puts it, messy hair and no plan.
The messy hair draft. I absolutely love that imagery.
It's perfect, right? It is entirely unprepared.
But why does our brain do that? Like, why is our first instinct so rarely our wisest sentence?
Well, it really comes down to how our nervous system processes a perceived threat.
Okay.
When you are hurt or upset, your brain often undergoes what psychologists call an amygdala hijack.
An amygdala hijack.
Yeah. Blood flow literally shifts away from your prefrontal cortex,
Yeah.
which is the part of your brain responsible for logic, reason, and careful vocabulary.
Right, the smart part.
Exactly. And it rushes to the amygdala, which handles the fight-or-flight response.
Oh.
So your messy hair draft is a literal fight-or-flight reflex. You throw the words out there as a defense mechanism, like a shield, before your prefrontal cortex has time to edit them.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Yeah.
Because if we know our biology is setting us up to fight, we need a reliable framework to bypass it. Right?
Absolutely.
The curriculum offers what I would call a golden rule for conflict resolution. And it's this. Lower the accusation, raise the clarity.
Lower the accusation, raise the clarity. That shift is the turning point in almost any argument.
It really is.
Because instead of going on the attack, which, just triggers the other person's fight or flight response, you maintain control.
Right. So instead of shouting, you never listened to me, which is a massive accusation with very low clarity.
Yeah, very low.
You shift the focus entirely to your own internal experience. You say, I felt ignored when I tried to explain myself.
Notice the mechanics of what just happened there.
Yeah, it completely changes the dynamic.
You are no longer attacking the other person's entire character.
Right.
You are simply stating an irrefutable fact about your own emotional state.
Right.
When you say, you embarrassed me, you are basically putting them on trial. But when you say, I felt embarrassed when that was said in front of everyone, you are offering a map of your internal world.
The curriculum actually calls out that trial mentality. It advises us to avoid opening the emotional courtroom.
The emotional courtroom.
We all know what the emotional courtroom looks like. It's when you turn into a prosecutor and say, Your Honor, I have screenshots from 2021 to prove my partner is wrong.
Oh, yeah. We've all been there. And the emotional courtroom is highly dramatic, but it rarely results in anyone actually feeling heard.
No, not.
It just creates this endless arms race of defensiveness.
Hold on. I want to push back on this a little bit.
Okay, sure.
I admit I'm stuck on this courtroom analogy. Does this mean we aren't allowed to bring up past events at all? Like, what if someone does have a documented history of crossing a specific boundary, and you genuinely need those receipts to prove your point?
It's a great question. And honestly, it's a very common trap.
Right.
It's not that past events don't matter. They do. It's that bringing out the receipts in the middle of a heated, vulnerable moment shifts the entire goal of the conversation.
Oh, so?
The goal transforms from, I want you to understand how I feel right now, to, I need to prove that I am legally right and you are legally wrong.
Oh, I see.
The moment you make someone the defendant, their only psychological imperative is to defend themselves, not to empathize with you.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
You can address patterns of behavior later when both nervous systems are calm, but you cannot legislate empathy in the heat of the moment.
Ah, okay. That clicks for me. You can't legislate empathy.
Exactly.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, not everyone becomes a prosecutor in the courtroom, right? Some people do the exact opposite when their amygdala fires up.
Precisely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we've been talking a lot about the fight response, but we have to look at the flight or fawn responses too.
Right.
Instead of lashing out, many people just bottle things up. They smile, they stay polite, they say no problem, when there's absolutely a massive problem brewing inside.
The material describes that kind of no problem as having thunder behind it.
Yes.
It's a tiny sentence, but it carries incredibly dramatic weather.
Because bottling up your feelings doesn't make them disappear, you know? It just traps the physiological energy of the emotion inside your body.
Like a pressure cooker.
Exactly. The classic analogy used in the text is a soda bottle. Every time you swallow a hurt feeling, you shake the bottle.
Right?
You keep shaking it day after day. And then, inevitably, one tiny insignificant thing happens. Someone forgets to buy bread at the grocery store.
And boom, the bottle explodes. Suddenly you're having a screaming match in the kitchen about sourdough.
But obviously, the human nervous system isn't actually melting down over fermented dough.
No, of course not.
It's melting down over 3 weeks of feeling ignored, tired, and unappreciated. Because those primary emotions were never articulated when they were small, this tiny trigger, the bread, is forced to carry the weight of all those old unspoken feelings.
This is exactly why the material advocates for speaking while the feeling is still small enough to hold gently.
Exactly.
It's like a small, honest sentence today prevents a massive emotional explosion later.
That's the goal.
But let's be real, we are human. Sometimes we miss the window, sometimes the soda bottle explodes, and we do lash out with a high accusation, messy hair draft.
Oh, happens to everyone.
Right.
And rather than spiraling into shame about it, there's a very practical microscript for how to repair that exact mistake.
Yes, I love this part.
If you snap at someone, you don't have to pretend it didn't happen, and you don't have to double down and stay angry just to save face.
Right.
You can simply pause, take a breath, and say, I'm sorry, that came out harsher than I meant.
That's a good phrase.
Or, let me try again. What I really mean is,
That feels like such a mature, grounding move. You aren't deleting your feeling or saying your anger wasn't justified.
doing that at all.
You were just taking responsibility for the delivery and choosing to express the underlying cable better.
Exactly. Which brings us to a really uncomfortable reality, unfortunately.
Oh boy, yeah.
You can do all this work, you can untangle your cables, bypass the emotional courtroom, lower your accusations, speak with perfect clarity.
And the other person might still respond terribly.
Yes.
What if you do all this emotional heavy lifting, you speak perfectly, and the other person is still just totally dismissive?
This is a critical point.
Mm-hmm.
Dismissive behavior, like when someone acts like your carefully articulated feeling is completely unimportant or an overreaction, it's incredibly destabilizing.
It really is.
They might say, you're being too sensitive, or it's just not a big deal, get over it.
It's like you've carefully unwrapped this delicate glass ornament to show them, and they just swat it out of your hands right onto the floor.
That's exactly what it feels like.
It hurts worse than the original offense, and it makes you second-guess your own reality. You start thinking, wow, maybe I shouldn't have said anything at all. Maybe I am crazy.
That self-doubt is the real psychological danger of a dismissive response. Basically, a form of emotional gaslighting, whether it's intentional or not.
Right.
When someone minimizes your feelings, your instinct is to rush to defend your whole personality. You want to get louder to prove your feeling is valid.
Naturally.
But the guidance here is clear. You do not need to get louder. You just need to get clearer.
So how do we actually do that in the moment when our heart rate is completely spiking?
You use firm, composed phrases that anchor the reality of your experience without getting pulled into a debate about the facts.
Okay, like what?
For instance, you can simply say, please do not minimize this.
I like that.
Or if they're trying to argue that the event didn't happen the way you remember, you could say, I understand you may see it differently, but this is how it felt to me.
I really like that boundary. It's like saying, I'm not asking you to agree with my reality right now. I'm just telling you what it is.
Precisely.
You aren't fighting them on their terms. You are just refusing to let them rewrite your experience.
This raises an important question, though.
Okay.
We've talked extensively about how to protect ourselves from dismissive people.
Mm-hmm.
But human nature is a two-way street.
True.
How do we ensure that we aren't the ones being dismissive when the tables are turned and someone comes to us with a messy, complicated feeling?
Yes. The mirror. when it's our turn to be on the receiving end.
Exactly.
This is where the concept of validation comes in. And I have to admit, for a long time, I completely misunderstood what validation meant.
Oh, a lot of people do.
I used to think validating someone meant I had to agree they were 100% factually correct about the entire situation.
That is the most common misconception by far. Validation has nothing to do with agreeing on the facts.
Right.
Validation is simply showing the other person that their emotional response makes sense from their current perspective. It's acknowledging their emotional reality without necessarily endorsing their whole narrative. You are just saying, that sounds really hard, or I can see why that upset you.
There's a specific scenario mentioned in the materials that honestly made me laugh out loud because I'm so guilty of it.
Oh, I know exactly which one you mean.
It warns against the very strong urge we all have to suddenly become a professional life coach the second we hear someone express distress.
The dreaded 7-step emotional improvement slideshow?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Someone comes to you crying because they had a terrible day, and instead of just listening to them, you immediately pull up a mental PowerPoint presentation on how they can, optimize their morning routine, confront their boss, and fix their entire life. It's like trying to treat an emotional wound with IT tech support. Have you tried turning your feelings off and on again?
That's so accurate. And we do it because sitting with someone else's pain is deeply uncomfortable.
It really is.
Our own nervous systems get agitated, and we want to fix their problems so we can feel comfortable again.
Ah, that makes a lot of sense.
But people rarely need a solution first. They just need a soft, non-judgmental place to put the feeling down.
So if you feel that fix-it IT support urge rising up, there is one brilliant, simple question you can ask. Do you want advice, or do you just want me to listen?
It's incredibly respectful.
It really is.
Yeah.
Validate first, advise later, but only if they explicitly ask for the advice.
Kindness in communication is often remarkably simple. It just requires a pause.
Now, there is a flip side to all of this openness.
Right?
We've learned how to articulate our own feelings and how to validate others, but that doesn't mean we are obligated to be an emotional sponge for everyone's drama all the time, right?
No, absolutely not. Emotional confidence isn't just about the ability to share. It's also about discernment.
Discernment.
Knowing who to open up to when the time is right and exactly how much to say.
I found the distinction they make between healthy vulnerability, which they call opening up, and the trap of oversharing to be really illuminating.
Yes, it's a crucial difference.
Opening up is giving someone real, contextual insight into your life to build connection. Oversharing, on the other hand, is when a coworker casually asks, "Hey, how was your weekend?" at the coffee machine, and you proceed to give them the full emotional documentary
Season 1, Episode 1.
with background music and subtitles.
Right. Psychologically, oversharing is rarely about seeking true connection.
Really?
Yeah, it's usually a sign of nervous system dysregulation. You are feeling overwhelmed, and you just unload everything onto someone who is entirely unprepared for it, basically seeking immediate relief.
Oh, wow.
It's giving too much too soon to the wrong person,
Yeah.
which usually just pushes them away.
Which means we have to talk about boundaries.
Yes.
If a conversation, either one you started or one you've been pulled into, stops being productive or starts feeling unsafe, you have to draw a line. But people get so scared of the word boundary.
They do.
They think boundaries have to be aggressive.
But the imagery used here is perfect for reframing that fear. Boundaries are not angry walls with warning signs. They are polite fences with emotional intelligence.
Polite fences. I love that.
You don't have to be cruel to set a limit.
Right. You can build a polite fence by saying, "I'm not in a headspace to discuss this right now."
Exactly.
Or if someone is escalating, "I care about you, but I need this conversation to stay respectful if we're going to continue."
You are protecting your peace without matching their hostility.
So what does this all mean? We have dug through the junk drawer, we've stayed out of the courtroom, we've learned to validate instead of playing IT support, and we've built our polite fences.
They've covered a lot of ground.
We really have. To bring this all together, I want to look at the final and perhaps most crucial vocabulary word from this whole curriculum.
That final concept is composure.
Composure.
Yeah. Composure is the art of maintaining calm control, especially when your internal state is incredibly chaotic.
But the key distinction here is that composure doesn't mean faking it. It doesn't mean bottling up the soda and pretending you aren't upset, right?
Exactly. Composure is not suppression.
Yep.
The visual used to explain this is stunning. Composure is holding your emotions carefully, like a very full, very hot cup of tea or coffee.
Wow.
The feeling is real. It is hot to the touch. The cup is full to the brim. But because you recognize that, and because you respect the heat of it, you are moving slowly so you don't spill it everywhere and burn yourself or the people around you.
Carrying the hot cup.
Yes.
So when you are in a difficult conversation, practicing composure physically buys your prefrontal cortex the time it needs to carry that cup safely. You literally slow your physical movements and your speech down.
You might even explicitly say, I'm feeling very emotional right now and I don't want to say this badly, so give me a second.
That takes immense confidence.
It really does. True confidence isn't firing back the fastest, sharpest, wittiest response. Confidence is slowing down enough to choose the right words.
That brings this whole deep dive full circle.
It really does.
When we look at all these concepts together, the overarching message for you listening right now is that communicating effectively is never about having a flawless, robotic vocabulary.
No, never.
It is entirely about taking a breath. It's about looking into that messy junk drawer of your mind, identifying the honest emotion beneath the noise, setting up those polite fences, and carrying your emotional cup with care.
And the practical applications in your daily life are just endless.
Totally.
Whether you are navigating, corporate emotional damage at work where you realize your anger is actually just you feeling taken for granted by your team,
Right.
or you're trying to explain a hurt feeling to your partner without automatically summoning them to the emotional courtroom, these psychological tools genuinely work.
They really do. And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative philosophical thought that this source material really brought to the surface for us.
Think about this. This original curriculum was designed for people learning English as a second language. If learning to articulate your deepest emotions in a non-native language physically forces you to slow down, to bypass your immediate messy hair rage, and to deliberately search your brain for clear, patient words,
Yeah.
could it be that communicating in a second language might actually make us better, more empathetic, and more composed at resolving conflicts than when we just rely on the rapid-fire instincts of our own mother tongue?
Wow.
It's a fascinating paradox. Sometimes, having fewer words forces you to find the truest ones.
That is something to really chew on next time you feel the immediate urge to lash out.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you take these tools and start untangling those cables.
Take care, and remember to carry your cup carefully.